So first of all, welcome everybody. I don't know, some of you may not have attended these before. These are sessions organized by the Jewish Art Salon, which is really an association of artists, critics, curators, etc. We're physically based in New York City, but we have members all over the world. We are starting now with our program. I just wanted to introduce Dorit. Dorit Jordan Dotan's works express her social, political views and calls attention to cultural issues. Dotan has exhibited internationally. In recent years, she exhibited at the Dr. Bernard Heller Museum in New York City in a continuing process of creating contemporary Jewish art. On a personal note, Dorit is one of the Salon's biggest supporters. She has been supporting us in various ways over many years and has lent her expertise, and we're very, very grateful and so excited to have her here. Okay, Dorit, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Shalom to all of you. Thank you all for joining. I am an immigrant. Thanks to Yona Verwer, the Jewish Art Salon in Jada, and Yonatas for creating and hosting this magnificent program. I started my residency at the Institut for Alles Mögliche in Berlin at the beginning of the epidemic outbreak in Europe. A curatorial project was my wish for the time in Berlin. I started it once I've got the invitation and I had less than a year to complete. I wanted to curate an exhibition, bringing together visual artists and to raise the issue of immigrants and refugees. Wait, sorry. My mistake. I wanted to raise the issue of immigrants and refugees through fine art. The call for art was about the Western countries' attitudes to the mass migration resulting in demographic changes. These days, when the world is facing new challenges, the immigrants are the first and worst to be affected. It was interesting to see what artists submitted. And how is it that all the exhibitors are Jewish? Was it because we Jews carry our ancestors' history and are identifying ourselves with any oppression against race? Well, I don't think so. I'm not sure about it. But the fact is that all the artists in this show are Jewish, some are Israelis, 10 are members of the Jewish Art Salon. I got my space like 50 square meters and I prepared it for the show. I found what other artists before me, residents, left. So I wanted to use materials that was there. Some materials like frames for canvases. I used those for creating this hanger for those t-shirts that I printed in Chicago before I came. I wanted at the opening to create kind of performance of live artists wearing some of the t-shirts, like saying a statement that everybody can be an immigrant. You don't have to be identified with any costumes or religious identifications. You just, one of everybody can be an immigrant, and it's really unseen. Other frame was used to make some hangings, and after the presentation, if there will be time, you're welcome to comment and ask questions. Mark Perlish is a Chicago-based photographer. Mark created his piece specifically for the exhibition. In his work, he focused on DNA tests that are very popular these days and combined it with photographs from his just married project, showing a diversity of the couples. I would like to thank Mark, which is here with us today, for the wonderful photographs at the exhibition opening while in Berlin. Chico Feinstein and Dan Weinberg. Ben is a member of the Jewish Art Salon. This piece is a collaboration between a father, Dan Weinberg, first generation of Berlin Holocaust survivors, and his son Chico Feinstein, a Jewish Latino. The three bars on the painting represent the three generations, the brilliant colors of Chico's Mexican heritage and his European background, resulting in the deep mixtures of culture. Eileen Bastis is a visual artist and poet, living and working in New York City. This piece was inspired by forces at work around the world, forcing desperate people to migrate from their homelands, facing all sorts of dangers for an uncertain future. It's part of a series of etchings that includes the words, "It was time to leave, when?" For me, when my family left Europe, they had to run for their lives and were refugees in Shanghai, China for 10 years. Now, when the epidemic outbreak happened in Berlin, I knew it was time to go. Betty Butler, a Chicago-based artist, her digital collage illustrates the experience of forced immigration. Populations are on the move, looking for food and new homes. Her work was inspired by climate change. Leah Raab, American visual artist living in Israel. She's a member of the Jewish Art Salon. This painting immediately captured me. In the darkness of the last sunset light, the turtles are migrating to their unknown future. Leah wrote on her statement that the turtle is a metaphor for the wandering Jew, moving from place to place, carrying its home within its shell. The abstract shape of the turtles are integrating with the background, existing but unseen. Aviv Maoz Hajjaj, born in Tripoli, Libya, but grew up in Rome, Italy since the age of 3. At 18, she migrated to Israel, and in 2013, she moved to Berlin, Germany. This video installation wishes to show an aspect of a refugee migrant story. Rome, Tel Aviv, Berlin revolves around rhythm. 3 different time zones, 3 different rhythms of life, creating a dissonance embodied in one channel video installation, showing 3 metronomes. I would like to pay special thanks for Aviv for assisting with the exhibition installation while in Berlin. Thank you, Aviv. Dorit Jordan Dotan, that's me, I think. I'm living in Chicago and now in Israel. I'm a proud member of the Jewish Art Salon. For this exhibition, I created a documentary installation. It started when I was in an Uber, having an interesting conversation with the driver, Guy, an immigrant from Cameroon. I was recording part of what he had to say and learn about him and his story, being a refugee from Africa to France and then migrating to the US. I've created my piece around his musical voice and his strong personality. For the video art, I used patches from news outlets and the soundtrack of the African-American street drummers in Chicago, inspired by the drumsticks on the back of the seat of Guy, the driver. Amina, this is how I named her, is a wagoneer from New York City from a recent photo project. She's anonymous, and I created an identity for her.
Because he shine all the contracts for you for the biggest company. So now you can say no matter if he's stealing his people. Because those companies, Shell, Total, they're extracting all the oil without without no control. So you cannot know who Netanyahu is good, or this president of Africa or Cameroon is good. He's bad president. He's a bad guy. But because he gave you all the contract, you say no, he's a good president. He can stay 40 years in the power, no problem.
This is what death and survival looks like. Migrants, people. Each one had a story, a hope, a dream.
Get that kind of people. I do something bad, do something not good. Or you know what? I don't like to work with you because of this, because of that. I prefer this kind of person because I know how to prepare myself to live with them, to work with them.
Judy Joseph is a visual artist based in Chicago. She's a member of the Jewish Art Salon. She works across a range of media, including printmaking, painting, calligraphy, and installation. Judy created this piece for the exhibition. She created baby clothes using the high-tech material that are used as blankets to cover the refugees. Judith wrote that it symbolized the contrast between the wealth of technology and so little of compassion expressed by developed countries towards the refugees. Professor Bruce Berber is an artist, cultural historian, and curator who teaches courses in media arts, art history, and contemporary studies at Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. Bruce explores the politics of citizenship through I Swear. I Swear uses billboards, an archive, and the public discussion to share different forms of communication about the oaths of citizenship immigrants take for 3 countries, all part of the former British Empire. These oaths shape the social status of people. Each demands submission to God or Queen, and shows how colonization still defines being an immigrant. President and founder of the Jewish Art Salon, Yona Verwer, Dutch-born, is an artist in New York. She creates works that explores identity, immigration, heritage, tikkun olam, and Kabbalah. This digital print is part of the Book of Yona series, a collaboration with Katarzyna Kozera. These artworks blend the coming to America stories of Kozera's and Verwer's lives with that of the biblical prophet Yona. The art touches on issues of identity, conversation, immigration, and heritage. Ellen Hopscheid is a painter, digital media artist, and serial artist based in Chicago. He is a member of the Jewish Art Salon. Ellen's submission to the exhibition was comics about his experience as a child of a mixed marriage. His father, an American soldier, married his mother in Japan after the Korean War, raised in a home with Japanese influences. I looked and thought about his comic sketches, but I felt that this piece of his Yona series is strong visual, simulating of the refugees that are washed to the shores of Europe after a stormy journey. Ellen Holsplat, a Chicago-based artist, creates art to explore connections between the physical and the spiritual, the memories of the body that reside in the soul. Ellen is a member of the Jewish Art Salon. Ellen wrote, in the biblical tale, Noah and his family are the only ones fortunate enough to find safety as the other humans face desperation and tragedy. The biblical narrative does not convey the emotion of the people who do not find place on the boat. In the woodcuts for my series Hamabul, The Flood, I choose to give these people faces and depict their humanity. Although it's a story, a myth, it conveys truth of human longing and desperation in impossible circumstances. It finds relevance in the modern world with changing geographical realities. Miri Mor is an Israeli artist based in Bucharest, Romania. Her new series, Zero Power, consists of photographic color prints of wooden drawers carrying assorted objects, personal and work-related, collected by her at the factory during the communist regime in Romania. In her studio, she reorganized the items in individual drawers. More is particularly concerned with those who are turned away with no place to return to, with no chance for finding their place in the work market. She explores historical currents through material from earlier times. Merlin Rubinstein lives and works in Los Angeles, California. Her work includes painting, drawing, book arts, sculpture, and installation. She's a member of the Jewish Art Salon. Naturalization and footsteps create bridge from an abstract past to a contextual present. Ideas about absence are suggested by processes of erasure, covering, unraveling, and the using of discarded items. The footsteps created by small pinholes offers an expression of fragility. Hedy Abramovich lives and works in Jerusalem, born in Brooklyn, New York. The immigrant experience and the Holocaust as legacy are main themes in her art. Hedy wrote, "I use old books, postcards, handwriting to connect to the disappearing culture and examine the individual's relationship to handwriting, reading, and correspondence as a means of intimate communication between worlds." Artist Bilha Zussman, Israeli-born, works at the Jewish Historical Museum in Amsterdam. She's a member of the Jewish Art Salon. The works show installation photographs from the series works My Jewish Backbone. The works depicts experience of exile, ascent, uprooting, and longing for lost world. She used the shoe stretchers as a metaphor for wandering and memories. It presents its own history, determined by voluntary and imposed immigration. Dan Alon is an Israeli artist based in Berlin. Dan was selected to perform at the exhibition opening in Berlin, drumming on a suitcase. Alon investigating the connection between biography to subjects such as humor, artistic action, and power. He usually does so using his own life story. As Dan had to leave Berlin to Israel just before the opening, and because the early closure of the exhibition, we had to cancel his performance. Bert Menko, Dutch-born, is a Chicago and Amsterdam-based artist. His images tend to be reflections of inner feelings, hiding behind reality, masking himself, as he says. Shomer HaOlam translated to Guardian of the World, is a work on paper that reflects Menko's family's history as World War II victims, refugees, and survivors. Philip Schwartz is an artist from New York and is a member of the Jewish Art Salon. The works Philip submitted to the exhibition was from another series of cutting works. He used Nazi historical material and documentary photographs to reconstruct his family history during the Holocaust. For this exhibition in Berlin, I tried to work around and avoid the Holocaust subject. And I chose these two works from his self-portrait series. Philip wrote, "The cutouts began as part of spiritual practice. Every day I would read appointed Bible lessons, and then I would write a brief meditation on the lesson, after which I make a cutout to illustrate either the lesson or the meditation. I would like to thank all the artists that came to be part of the opening in Berlin and participating in the gallery talk. You're awesome. Thank you, everybody."
Thank you so much, Dorit. That was so great to see. Okay, so we're going to open it up now to questions and answers. And the way we do it is, if you have a question or even a statement about Dorit's presentation, then please go to the participant screen at the bottom of your screen. And there is a feature there where it says raise hand. And I will then call on you whenever it's your turn, at which point you should unmute yourself. So everybody stays muted, but who has a question or a statement or a comment so far? Please use the raise hand function. Susan Chevlo, wonderful. 1 second. Susan, can you unmute yourself? Because I'm not able to do it.
Hi, how are you, everybody? Thank you. Dorit, I love your work and I love your commitment to social justice issues in your work. Could you talk a little bit more about your process of finding the artist? Did you send out an open call? How did that work?
So yeah, thank you, Susan. Yes, so the open call, I was writing an open call and spread it all over, including the Jewish Art Salon channels. Thank you, Yona. And then I got a lot of submissions. And yeah, that was like, I mean, I didn't have bazillions of them, but I had a good amount of submissions that I had to choose from. And as I said before, it was very important for me not to involve Holocaust, because there is a lot of other things, and we always, you know, the Holocaust is coming for us from all kinds of aspects in our life, artistically, but I didn't want to show this in Berlin directly like that. It's a very sensitive subject there, and we all know about it, and I wanted more to be concentrating on how we feel about it today, with in modern art, in contemporary ways of visualizing that.
Thank you.
Before we go to the next one, Dorit, I've known you for many years, but I've never actually met your dog, Shiba, but I've seen your dog in like many, many dozens of photos on Instagram and Facebook, and I think I heard Shiba in the background. Is that it? When you were talking?
And we were locking her actually in the patio, and she's like barking. I said, we have pigs, we have wild pigs all over the Mount Carmel where we live. There are a lot of pigs, and she's barking all the time.
Okay, all right, so Hannah Zelig had a question.
Hi, Dorit, thank you so much for the for this just beautiful just collection. I have a question about one piece of yours and a phrase that you used. It was the photograph of Amina, and you used the term, I created an identity for her. And I was struck because that's kind of a double-edged thing with an immigrant. On one hand, I imagine that you were just kind of like reconstituting an identity for her because immigrants, especially women from that part of the world, are invisible. But at the same time, isn't the immigrant experience that other people tend to kind of project an identity onto them. So I just wanted to know what you were kind of like thinking about when you kind of like created this this identity for her.
Thank you so much for asking this question, because really, I really want to answer this. So thank you. So yeah, so first of all, this was a project I took a photo shooting in New York about the horses and the wagoners. It was for my other, projects of animal abuse and the New York horses, and I really wanted to raise this issue up. And so a lot of the wagoners, it seems to be that are immigrants and they got these jobs. Probably they paid very low rate. Maybe she's not an immigrant, but I started with the guy. The guy from Cameroon is a real guy. We had a very nice conversation at the Uber, and yeah, I started to recording. And once I got my project going on and almost everything was set, and I decided how I'm going to present the installation at the show, I have to admit that I knew that this is the International Women's Day in Berlin. Actually, we had the gallery talk at the same day. And I said, hey, how is it? I'm a feminist. Where is the balance? I also would like to have a woman immigrant next to Guy. So I was looking at my, at my archives and my photographs, and I remember her. I remember her eyes. I remember that she was looking directly to me when I shoot the photograph at the Central Park in New York. And I felt that Amina is going to be the one, to be there and represent women refugees. And I wanted to give them a voice too. So for me, it was like balancing and having some equality between men and women immigrants. So she was representing, so I had to make an identity for her. And I was thinking, I was doing a little research, and I looked like big groups of immigrants who is coming to stay in New York City and what jobs they are doing. And I just decided, and then I looked women from Bosnia and what kind of things they do, and I realized a lot of them are studying nursing, and then they try to immigrate so they have some profession. Of course, they're not getting jobs in that. So this was like, I make it up, but it was based on some research of what I think could be fitting her.
Great. Ari and Quinn have a question. I'll try to unmute you.
I got it.
Okay.
All right. Hi. So thank you very much, Dorit. This is Ari speaking. This was a fascinating exhibition. And I was curious, many of us viewing this are also immigrants ourselves, as are you. And I was wondering if in your process of curating these different art pieces, did you discover any perspectives or insights on the immigrant experience that were new to you? Because I feel like sometimes when we look at immigrant narratives, it's very easy for us to see the universal threads and the commonalities. And I was wondering if anything stood out to you as unexpected or something that surprised you to come up in the context of immigrant art about the immigrant experience.
Well, I don't think I was having some big surprises. I just like to see that everybody's touching it from his own point of view. Like, for instance, the piece by Mark Perlich, the photographer. This was a little bit, I know the process of his work because we were having conversation about it. And it was an ongoing process for him to do this. I know Mark is usually doing photography, all kinds of photography. He's a photographer. And this piece was very unique for him because he used a lot of digital and mixed media. And I loved what he did with his mixed couples, the diversity of the couples, that he combined it with the DNA test. So this was like very unique for me. There was another piece that I was very surprised by, was by Judy Joseph with the baby clothes that she created. And it was fascinating to see how the call made them create pieces for the show, specifically for the show. And it's not really surprised, but I felt wonderful about it because I felt that they are actually trying to get, not into my head, through their heads, finding new ways to show how they feel about these aspects of immigration and refugees. But for me personally, my family were refugees without any identities for 11 years. My mother was born in China, in Shanghai. So all my life, we all had this, you know, we had it at home, you know, all these stories, and it was so strong. My grandmother, she always talked about the stories from Shanghai and the memories, and it was very, we always were ready to leave. In our family, always we need to have, like, getting the German passport was very, very important. Like a feeling that maybe if we need to run away, we have other choices to do and alternatives. So I'm living it. I mean, this is my homeland, Israel. I was living in Chicago for 5 years. I'm still living there officially, but I'm stuck here right now at my homeland, which is funny. But yeah.
Okay, great.
So first of all, Dorit, I loved your putting together that exhibition. I just wanted to give you a little piece of information which you may or may not know. You said it was the let's see here, the person who is riding and directing the horse in Central Park, right? Just to let you know, that's called a handsome carriage.
Okay.
Okay, and it's not. I think you called it a wagoner.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So maybe people could consider it a wagoner, but no, it's very specifically a handsome cab driver. And one of the reasons I know that, because I'm a New Yorker, and that's what New Yorkers know. But also, it featured prominently in my first date with my wife. We'd gone out to dinner, we went to the movie, and then I took her up to 59th Street, and we got into a handsome carriage, and it was very romantic, except it started to rain, and so the driver sat back with us too. So just wanted to let you know, it was very dear to my heart, the handsome cab driver.
Oh, thank you. It's good to know. I was actually more concerned about the horses.
I understand, of course, right. And I don't even know, maybe you can tell us, what's the status of those horses? Do they still have the cabs, or have they been abandoned and abolished?
As far as I know, all of you from New York should stand up with the city mayor and tell him that it's time to stop this cruelty for those poor horses.
Right.
It's still existing in not only New York City, also some cities in Europe, and even in Chicago, I see the horses. It's horrible. They're still existing, but you know, tourists are, my opinion, they shouldn't use that. It's really abuse for those horses. So
I understand.
So, well, I am an immigrant in one, you know, big capitals, letter sentence. This is just, I am an immigrant. I am. I'm human. I'm a woman. You know, I'm a person. I have all kinds of interest in my life. I'm here. I'm existing. An immigrant is an immigrant, meaning I wanted to create from this sentence 3 sentences. I am an immigrant, and if you want to read it, I am an immigrant. So that's the 30 seconds of explaining that.
I want to thank everybody who stuck with us till the very end. I want to thank Dorit for your excellent presentations. I want to thank Goldie Gross for co-hosting and moderating. And next week, we will have a presentation by two artists, Amy Rubin and Ezra Rose. Great, thank you all so much for joining. See you hopefully next week, Sunday. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.